After taking 2 weeks off for some R&R down in the free state of Florida, I'm heading back to Walden's boatyard. While on vacation, I talked with the yard manager and they did manage to get the motor moved into the engine room. Alright, so let's park the car, get up on the boat, and see exactly what we're looking at. Okay, so here we are. Both you and I are going to take a look at what's going on here for the very first time. Let's look inside the engine room. Wow, there it is. Minus a few parts, I would say, but it's in through that little opening, so this should be the biggest problem we have, hopefully. What's that old saying? Knock on wood. Now, the yard stored the parts that they took off the motor in the aft cabin. So here you see some nuts and bolts. Over here is the heat exchanger. And then down here on the floor in the head is the bell housing and clutch assembly with starter and everything, and below it there is the flywheel. Just as an FYI, that flywheel is 90 pounds. Now, with the motor positioned inside the engine room, our next task was to get it up on essentially an overhead gantry crane inside the engine room. To do this, we needed to get some cribbing. So here we've got some big 4x4s, and we used them to stack up on the outside of the engine room like you see here. And along with that, on the inside, we used a jack stand over on the bench on the far side of the engine room. This then would allow us to span those two spots with a big heavy bar and to put a come-along on. Now, if you look at this picture here, it's not really quite self-evident that there's not enough space between the top of the engine and the bottom side of the engine room to get a come-along in between those two. So what we're going to have to do is move this engine down on this stack of cribbing that you see here, so that we have enough overhead space to get that bar and come along on. Now, I'm sorry I don't have any clear pictures or videos of the next step because we had one person inside the engine room and one person outside. There wasn't any way for me to shoot anything, but what we did was inch by inch. We first moved the motor up, pulled a piece of cribbing out, stacked another one on that was a little bit lower, and sort of jackknifed this motor down into the engine room like you see here, so that we had enough space to hook up that overhead gantry crane and come along. So here you see the end product of about 4 hours of work. You see the come along chain at the top there. Also, we put back on the flywheel, clutch pack, bell housing, motor mounts, and chassis mounts back on. This allowed us to position the motor roughly in where it's going to go. Next week, we'll be working on the stringer mounts and final alignment. Now, one of the upgrades that I'm working on here is to put in a Balmar external voltage regulator. To do that, you need to remove the existing stock internal regulator, which you see here, and call Beta and have them send you out a replacement that allows you to use the Balmar external regulator. So now you remove that old regulator. Here we see the new one from Balmar ready to go back in. Just put the little rubber gasket around it, slide it back in, and bolt it down. As you see here, it's ready to go. They also send you a little email with pictures on how to do everything, and as you see, the regulator is clearly marked here for one of the wiring that you need to use. If you've done any boat projects or been on a boat where boat projects are going on, you know that tools have a tendency to get all over the place. Then you need a lot of different tools if you're doing a lot of different jobs. So the question has always been, how do you organize and store them? Well, for myself, I was originally using tool bags. Started with one, and all of a sudden I realized I had 6. So I needed to come up with some way of storing my tools when I weren't using it, and then at least having a shot at attempting at keeping them organized while I'm working. Well, here is my solution. On the OI-41, across from the head, there's the locker. So here you see inside the locker now where I have used an assortment of DeWalt T-stacks and Versa stacks from Craftsman, which, by the way, insider note, they're both out of the same mold, just different colors. So if you find either one on sale, you can use them. Here you see the DeWalt on the bottom with Versa stacks on the top. They're sitting across the shelf. So I've got two big storage bins, top and bottom, and then two with slide out drawers. Now going into the V-berth, on the back side of that wall, here you see the Milwaukee pack out system that I decided to go with. I've got two shallow, a medium depth, and then a tall depth. Now the tall depth has got the foam inserts and I haven't put anything in it. And since I put this up, I went ahead and took the big dive and got another shallow storage system, but this one is completely stacked with sockets and wrenches, 1/2 inch and 3/8, so I can keep them organized there. So just a thought to you guys out there. Thanks for tuning in. Well, as we come to the end of another vlog, I'd like to thank everybody for tuning in. Now, just a little quick update also. In the past, I was using Patreon, and I quit using it for a couple reasons. Number one, I find it hard to ask people for money, which is what it sounds like. And second of all, Patreon charges you a flat fee every month, whether you're really doing any transactions with them or not. So I dropped it. And I've had some requests to come up with a way to help support the channel out there from you viewers. So I started a GoFundMe page. So if you want to shoot me some coffee money or anything like that, you can go to the GoFundMe page. It's a lot lower fees and it doesn't require any monthly maintenance expense. So with that said, the link will be down below. And once again, as always, peace and fair winds. Thanks for stopping by. Don't forget to hit that subscription button, give us a like, and follow us on Facebook. Thank you.